There we go. Hey, Eric. How you doing tonight?
Sorry, caught me in the middle of a yawn. We may have to start again.
It is late. Sorry.
It's all right.
Getting a later start every night or every week this time.
How you doing, John?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. It has been a busy few weeks, and it's been raining like crazy here in Oregon last couple days, so it's feeling like I gotta get the list of what has to happen before winter.
More fencing in?
No. It rained all day Sunday, so we did indoor stuff on Sunday. Made some salsa and processed.
I saw the tweet. I was jealous. It looked tasty.
Yeah.
The pre-salsa.
Yeah.
The ingredients for salsa look tasty.
I'll be honest. We put a lot more jalapenos in this year than last year. So once I crack a jar, if it's too hot, I might have to share with other people that will eat hotter salsa, because the rest of my family is ixnay on the icy spay. Is that how you would say that?
I got the gist.
They don't like the spice.
I'm secretly hoping that it's too spicy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it took 5 cups of shredded jalapenos, so it was a lot. Of course, it was a lot of salsa. So anyway, yeah, that was fun. But
good.
Yep. I had a good weekend, though. How about you? How'd your week go?
I had a very long day yesterday. I
know you did.
Went up to Seattle for a Google Cloud Summit. They had an all-day conference, and one of the things that they also had was a free shuttle from Portland that left at 5 a.m. So
and should have left at 4, evidently.
Apparently. Yeah, so it was clear on the other side of town. So I got up at about 3:45, got ready, but I did discover that what typically, to get from my house to basically the airport where it was picking up, is usually, if there's no traffic, 40 minutes. Apparently at 4:30 in the morning or at 4:15 in the morning, it's 20 minutes.
Wow.
So I got there early before the bus was even there, but I wasn't the only one. There was a crowd started to gather, and so we all piled on the bus at 5 a.m. and it took off, and it was raining. Pouring rain the whole route, and there were multiple car accidents. And so instead of getting there by 8:15, as the schedule denoted to be in time for the 9 a.m. keynote speech, it got there at about 9:20.
Wow.
But that's all right.
Wow.
The conference was pretty good, but the keynote didn't even start until 9:30. Punctuality was not really a priority, as I found out through the whole day. But one of the cool things, one of the things I do appreciate about a lot of these tech conferences is, they have the sales pitch speech, they have the keynotes that tell you about all the exciting things they're doing and coming. Sometimes, a lot of times, they will have a speaker from some industry that's not the tech industry to come and talk about their perspective potentially on tech or other things. And the person who came for the afternoon keynote at 3 p.m. was a Dr. Mae Jemison. And she was the first woman of color in space, and she was a fabulous speaker.
I'm jealous.
I really enjoyed listening to her. She talked about her youth and growing up in the 60s, and how, a lot of people think about the 60s as kind of the hippie time and the, Woodstock and civil rights and all those. Those were going on. But the thing that she remembered, as a kid growing up on the south side of Chicago, she said was, we were breaking records left and right. Olympic records, airplane, speed of sound records, going to, we were just breaking records all over the place. And that's what she remembers. And that's what inspired her for some of the things. And so she was talking, one of the things she said, and so after she had, been done with space and was moving on to other things, she said, I wanted to figure out what the next moonshot would be, what the next big thing would be. And so she put up a thing about Mars saying, should we go to Mars? And then she said, we know how to do it. We could do it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to solve any problems to get to Mars. I wanted to think bigger, so I started it's the 100-year project, or the 100, I'll have to go look it up. But anyways, the idea was, what are the things you need to solve if you wanted to build a spaceship to get to Alpha Centauri?
Oh my gracious.
Which is 4.5 light years away.
Wow.
Which, if you could travel, so making some assumptions, they're making some assumptions. At some point, if we could travel at, I think it was 10 to 20% the speed of light, then it would only take or within 10 to 20% of the speed of light, we could get there in 100 years. And so what are all the things you would have to be able to build in some type of craft to get there in 50 years, 100 years, whatever it was.
Right.
So it was fascinating. Anyways, I that was like, sadly, you go to the tech conference and the best part of the whole thing was not tech related, really. But anyways, and I think one of my something funs a while back, I didn't go back and try to find it, but she is one of the astronauts that they talked to during a Netflix series called One Strange Rock. And it's a documentary about Earth, but they take the perspective of Earth as seen from space. And what, different, how does nature work and weather. And anyways, it was narrated by Will Smith. So it's a great series. I think it's only 6 episodes. So if you haven't seen it, go see One Strange Rock. It's a great documentary, and she is one of the they interview 6 different astronauts who have spent a collective, 10 some odd years in space or not on the planet, and do kind of a nature documentary with intermixing kind of ideas from space. Anyways, it was really cool.
Oh, that's fun.
I've talked way too long on the intro.
Oh, that's fantastic though. I'm jealous.
That was my exciting. It was really cool.
I'm jealous. That sounds awesome. So I had one piece of follow-up this week. I guess it could have been a story, but I thought that we'd actually talked about it before. But this was a data leak of Ecuador. Did you see this story?
I did not.
It was of course, it was a Elasticsearch leak of most Ecuadorian citizens, but it was worse than most. I actually, like I said, I thought that we had talked about this before, and I actually went back to say, well, this was what follow-up was from, but that was actually, I guess it would have been 5 weeks ago. In episode 87, we talked about a leak of Chilean citizens. So not the same. This is different. This one was worse, probably. It included both government and non-government information, and basically every citizen in Chile, or sorry, no, this was in Ecuador, and including 6.7 million children under the age of 18. It included all of their family relatives, had like a familia key. It included the bank and financial records, car registration, what the cars were, what their registration was, and full names, dates of birth, home addresses, marital status, national identifiers, work and job information, phone. Basically, it was bad. So, yet another analytics company that didn't protect their Elasticsearch aggregation of information. So, I mean, this is a repeating story of, aggregators find different ways to either scrape or, retrieve data, put it together, but then not protect it sufficiently. And, there will be consequences. I think there was I think I saw a tweet that they were trying to rush in some data protection laws. So we'll see. Maybe they will do something akin to GDPR in Ecuador, but it was a pretty bad one. Yeah.
Yeah.
One sort of minor humorous part that they had in the article was, remember Julian Assange was being protected by the Ecuadorian ambassador or embassy. Right?
Embassy, yeah.
So he was actually given a national ID, and yes, his data was in there too.
Oops.
Yeah. So that was a bad one. I figured it was mostly follow-up because it's mostly the same thing as happened a number of times. Yet another one.
But we're just going to have a new... It's just all going to be mostly follow-up eventually.
I didn't even realize I had said that, but yeah, that's pretty funny.
So in a completely unrelated or
It's the non-security part of mostly security.
Yeah, in a completely different tact of follow-up, like that doesn't really affect human beings all that much. We had talked about MoviePass and how they had a breach and lost data. Well, they're now officially shutting down, and I guess that's really all I need to say about that. So,
yep.
Things just got from bad to worse to no longer existing.
Turns out,
and
if
then
you just keep giving out money and giving out money and giving out money, eventually you run out of money.
Yeah. Then the last piece of follow-up we've talked about a couple of times and kind of going along with the space theme here is NASA had a space probe that was going over, that circles the moon and was going to be passing by where the Vikram, the India's moon lander, Vikram, had either landed or attempt to land on September 17th. And it had a flyover there. And since it's NASA, all the images will eventually become public and you'll be able to see that. But apparently it was unable to identify or find where that lander had lost contact. I guess we assumed crashed, but lost contact. And unfortunately, the statement said was when the LRO, Lunar Reconnaissance, what is it called? What does LRO stand for?
I think that's right, Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. Flew
over that area. It was right near dusk lunar time, and so there was poor lighting and, in quotes, a challenging imaging environment. So they weren't able to actually see it, but maybe, and since the lunar day and night is not like Earth, is not 24 hours, it may be, I think it may be a few more weeks before it'll be possible to have a lighted area to see it at this point. So maybe we may have more follow-up in the future on Vikram.
If they get some good pictures.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. I had not seen this article.
Yeah. So there's the end of follow-up.
Okay. How about a topic? What do you got for me this week?
So I think I have two that I'm going to sneak in. So you remember when Google Maps was doing their cars that they were driving around all over the U.S. to create their fancy street view?
What do you mean when they had? Aren't they still doing that?
You're correct. They probably still are doing it.
I actually saw one drive by the office just a couple of weeks ago, actually.
Oh,
I think.
Yeah. So still doing that. And initially people would get upset about, having their homes or cars or kids out in their front yard, or people walk down the street and have pictures taken. So, Google would fuzz out their faces or fuzz out license plates and started, obscuring different things that could be considered private. And I think we talk a lot about privacy online and how the big tech companies deal with it. The Facebooks, the Googles, Microsoft, all these big tech companies, or what happens when they get breached, or companies that are leveraging tech and they get their credit card stolen, other personal data. Side tangent. So my credit card got stolen again, and where last year I knew where I was 99.9% positive where it happened. I think it was a skimmer on a sketchy gas station in the middle of Arizona. This year, I have no idea. I believe I have a hunch that it was a certain website that we do not normally buy things from, but was the only place we could buy this thing that we were looking for. But I haven't seen anything in the news about, this site having a leak, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Huh.
Anyway, so sorry, side tangent. So
I'm sorry, dude.
yeah, having a credit card for 20 plus years and nothing, and then twice in basically a year. So anyways, the article is in Vice.com article, and it's about repo men, the guys who drive the tow trucks around and repossess cars. That's their job. Well, there was a company that sells camera systems that you can buy those cameras and you mount them while you're driving around, and it scans all the license plates, and you can pay the service to have it notify you if any of the plates match for a car that needs to be repossessed.
Huh.
And so it's been tracking these cars. They've been doing this since, I think, 2009, and they have over 9 billion license plates because these tow truck drivers are driving around town all day long, and it's just a scanner that's always scanning and pulling license plates and uploading the GPS coordinates and, tagging things like, is it, if it's during the day that where that car is probably at, it's probably at work. If it's at night, that car's probably at a house, if they're in a shopping mall, whatever. So, it is an interesting take on data and data privacy from, the perspective, because now law enforcement can use the data, not just for, it started out as we can send you information about a car that needs to be repossessed or that is on a list from the bank saying repossess this car, and people try to hide them. So, okay, but it is morphed into a way to track people because typically people go with their cars and their cars are all over the place, and these things are driving around for years and tag this car over time to see where it's at. So I thought it was an interesting article.
I guess it's legal.
Yeah, the article does kind of go into that a little bit because generally taking pictures in public, which is what this thing is doing, is protected by First Amendment and has been protected by First Amendment, right? So, if you're at a beach and someone takes a picture and you happen to be in the picture, you can't sue that person. So it's apparently legal, but it's getting into gray issues really fast. The article was really long, but it was just an interesting take on privacy and the things that start out as maybe being used for a valid idea or a good idea that over time you start to say, hey, we could monetize this data we have by selling this to law enforcement, private investigators, not just banks who are trying to repossess cars and guys who drive tow trucks to repossess those cars. Right. They can expand their business. And if you have the data, you're going to expand your business.
I like it's a notion that data has gravity, right? You sort of start sucking in other data and, different use cases
crop up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was my first article. I think it's good, long, interesting.
It's a little ironic. It's from Vice because my Something Fun is from Vice. I hadn't caught that before.
I'm looking forward to something fun now.
Okay.
My second article this was actually passed along from a friend of ours, Wayne, in our Mostly Security Slack. It was a Project Zero bug, and it was a bug in a password manager. And I love the password managers. I'm a fan of password managers. But this defect was in a password manager that through some slight trickery, you could have that browser leak the previous site's password through that password manager if you use the password manager to populate the site. So I think the short answer here is if you use a password manager, make sure it stays up to date, because like any other software, your password manager can also have bugs. And I think one of the nice things or bonus points of this was it was discovered, reported, and fix was issued within a couple weeks. And if you're a password manager, you're probably going to want to get fixes as fast as humanly possible. So
nice bug. Wow.
Don't be scared away from password managers, even though they have bugs in them. The benefits still outweigh the potential risks, I would assert.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Those are my two notes for this week.
Totally. But wow, that's a nice little bug.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I'm reading the bug notes on the Project Zero site. I guess I shouldn't do that. Okay.
What do you got?
Well, so my did I have two? Or did I just have one? I did have two. So my first is it's another password-ish thing, actually. Did you see the bug about the? Oh, I know you did because you said, it doesn't matter. It didn't affect.
It doesn't affect me.
This is a bug in a experimental feature of Chrome OS, basically, but it's about the U2F Universal Second Factor API, basically, and the experimental feature was how the device itself would be the automatic second factor.
Right.
Essentially, if you're using Chrome OS and you're logging into a site that wants a second factor, the laptop itself can provide the hardware-backed second factor automatically using the U2F spec. The vulnerability here was that it's kind of a little tricky, but there's a security chip in the firmware where it says the H1 security chip firmware, and the firmware code used it says incompatible transfer instructions when passing a critical secret value to the cryptographic hardware block. But the net result is that the secret that's generated only had 64 bits of entropy instead of 256. Basically, it's easier to guess. And so, 64 bits is not very much at all these days. And so basically, if an attacker had a single pair of signed a signature and the signed data, they could basically reverse the private key and then be able to sign anything on their own. So, essentially the cryptography was much, much, much weaker than it should have been otherwise. And so, this result, it's a vulnerability, and the way to fix it was a little tricky. I mean, you needed to both have a firmware update that fixed the actual vulnerability, and you had to go to any sites that you've registered this as your second factor and basically unregister it so that you could go reset the security key, which would cause it to regenerate. After you had the firmware update, you could reset it and have it generate a new key pair, and then you'd be good to go.
To get your full 256 bits.
Yeah, when you order 256 bits, you kind of want 256 bits, right? I feel like you deserve 256 bits there, Eric.
That's right.
You deserve it. I guess I now have a Chrome OS or a Chromebook in the house. Actually, I have an old one that we played with a little bit last summer, but since my older boy, they give out or they loan Chromebooks in the schools around here. Yeah.
Yep.
And so they don't give it to you, but you what did we pay? I think we paid $20 for the insurance, basically, just in case something happens to it.
Right. You get to lose it once.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah. So the $20 covers a one-time. Yeah.
You're using the word "get" there. Yeah. So anyway, I'm pretty sure that.
Ask me if we've used it once in our house.
Uh-oh. I'm going to go with that. Sounds like there's a story there.
Yeah.
That's good. Anyway, I liked your comment in Slack was you read number one and you're like, I'm not affected. I don't care.
That's right. It started out with a list of here's people who the TLDR, people who care. Number one, I don't apply. Number one is false for me, so I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. So the link we'll post actually is the link to the vulnerability out on the Chromium website. So that was the first one. An interesting vulnerability, though, I think.
Uh-huh.
And then my second one was the simjacking stuff. Did you read anything about simjacking?
I did read up a bunch of this one. I think
Yeah.
Wayne also posted this one in the Slack as well, but I had seen it as well.
Sorry, I hadn't noticed that. I saw this in a bunch of places. But
this was all over the place.
Yeah, this seemed to be the one of the stories of the week, or the stories of 2013, evidently, because evidently a very similar or maybe progenitor vulnerability was demoed at I don't remember if it was at Black Hat or DEF CON in 2013. I don't see it right away. So anyway, so this is the reason I guess that they're calling it simjacking. What is because there's a way to send a text message to a phone, to the phone number, but it will be read by the SIM card and basically instruct the SIM card to, execute some instructions and send data back via another SMS message to a different number. But neither the incoming text message or I guess SMS, it won't show up on your received calls. Basically, it seems like it's never passed the OS, and neither will the returning message, the data that's being sent out back to essentially the CNC command and control server. Neither the incoming nor the outgoing will show up in your list of text history. So, right. And one of the things that you can command the SIM to do is basically read the location data, turn around and send it back out. So this was used to track people right. surreptitiously. And if they said what governments were doing it, I didn't notice, but because it says the quote, the attacks are happening to phones in, quote, several unnamed countries. So, but there were comments in here that, Sprint and T-Mobile said their customers weren't vulnerable, and AT&T said its US-based network wasn't affected. Well, that's an interesting qualification there. And Verizon, meanwhile, said it had no indication it was affected either. So, US may be free or, dodged this, but there are many other places around the world.
Yeah. I always wondered if there would be stuff like this, because there are all sorts of short codes. You can do star, some code, pound in the texting it when you on either as the phone number, and different things it'll send you your bill, or it'll do all sorts of things. There's probably tons of these codes.
Yeah.
Probably find them all online somewhere too.
This looks to me like a leaky abstraction, right? I mean, there's tons of stuff that, happen in protocols that aren't exposed to the application layer generally. And, somebody who can work level below that can do things that are seemingly impossible or quote unquote magic to somebody whose, world revolves in the upper layers of the stack.
Your own little backdoors.
Yeah. And it's like a sedimentary layer of sedimentary layer of protocols. I don't know. So this in particular, sorry, I was picturing the Grand Canyon there with the looking across at the layers. So evidently there's a S&T, pronounced SAT, browser, I guess, or Sim Alliance Toolbox browser. So an application specified by the Sim Alliance, okay, and can be installed on a variety of SIM cards, including eSIMs. I did not know that. This SAT browser software is not well known, is quite old, and its initial purpose was to enable services such as getting your account balance through the SIM card. Globally, its function has been mostly superseded by other technologies, hence the strata above it, I guess. And its specification has not been updated since 2009. However, like many legacy technologies, it has still been used while remaining in the background. So, interesting, right?
Cool.
And sorry, one more thing I wanted to say about this, because there was a list of the different things that could happen. So the sorts of commands that they can execute are playing a tone, sending a short message, setting up a call, send USSD. I don't actually know what that is. Or send SS. Does that mean screenshot? That could be interesting. I can't imagine that means screenshot, not coming from the sim. Provide local information, including location, battery, network, and language. Power off the card. Run an AT command. How do you like them apples?
That takes me back.
Send DTMF command. Launch browser. Open channel. Send data, get service information, submit multimedia message, and geographical location request. Anyway, so it seems like there's quite a bit of stuff that could be done at that level.
Yay.
So anyway, that was the article I thought that was the most interesting thing this week. Pretty funny. All right, should we get to something fun?
I'm pulling a John and going with two something funs today. It's
awesome.
A double fun day for me.
Okay, double fun. I like fun.
Both of mine, though, are off of Twitter.
Okay.
There is a Twitter account called Communist Bops, and it's Soviet soldiers dancing. And they have just tons of short videos on Twitter-sized videos of Soviet soldiers. So they're black and white from, I imagine, the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, dancing. But they put the music to modern music. So
funny
music from today. And I don't know why this exists, but it was a rabbit hole I got lost in, just trying to match up because some of the videos are better than the others. They actually match the music to the actual dancing, and some it's just completely unrelated. But
okay,
that's my first something fun.
Okay, I don't have the sound on, so I'm seeing a lot of them happen, but I'm going to have to go through here again with the
listen
sound on.
With the music. So that was my first rabbit hole, and the second rabbit hole that I fell into this week was, there's those videos all over you can see about dominoes where they set up the big patterns with dominoes, and then you knock the one domino and it.
Oh, I saw this video.
Knocks us out.
Oh, I totally saw this video.
This guy is taking that to 3 dimensions. So he builds these structures up like a stadium or a building of some sort, and then he starts them falling, and they fall up, and then they fall down, and then they fall side. I don't know how to describe it. They just go, and it's just, how long does it take you to set up dominoes pretty much all on a flat surface? Now you're going 3-dimensional with your dominoes. Anyways,
how do you not accidentally knock it down?
I know,
halfway in. Having set up just a few like literally just dominoes, do a few dozen dominoes and you'll drive yourself crazy accidentally knocking them down, or you will if you're me. Okay, yeah, so that's cool. I didn't follow to the other channel to see other things that they posted.
Yeah, the Twitter link that we'll post has a link to the YouTube channel, but he also does video game speed runs, and so his channel is half video game speed runs and half these big 3D structures that get domino knockdown esque. So I didn't just post to his YouTube channel. You go to the YouTube and you have to scroll around to find the other ones. Anyways.
All right. Well, we'll post.
That's where I ended up this
Twitter
week.
one. That's what I saw this week too. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, my something fun was this was an article. I actually saw it on Slashdot. But this was an article that is about a lost continent 1,000 miles under Europe. And I don't know that it's a continent. I'm sorry. That seems a little egregious. But it did say that this is formally named Greater Adria. So basically this is a landmass on a tectonic plate that is or was shoved underneath Europe, right? So
Okay.
it was a Greater Adria was about the size of Greenland when it slammed into Europe during the mid-Cretaceous period. And basically, the article that we'll post in here is about scientists that have spent the last 10 years trying to find sort of rock specimens of the parts of the continent that were still above. I guess I don't know which plate it is going underneath, what that plate is called, but it is now approximately 1,000 miles underneath Europe. It's cool, huh? So it said, as the Adriatic plate was forced down into Earth's mantle, the top layer of sediment and life forms was sheared right off. The messy shavings helped form the backbone of mountains such as the Alps, the Apennines, and the Taurus Range. Much of the southern European mountain ranges are derived from Greater Adria, Van Hinsbergen said in an email. He noted that the western, northern Alps and Carpathians are exceptions. But there was the other funny thing I thought I wanted to note in here was that they analyzed the field data with software called G-Plates. So gplates.org, which I'm
clicking.
Like, yeah, well, it looks like the website appears to have been created in about 2003. And
maybe a few years before that.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. But it's got a Python library, so it's what would you say? Okay. What would you call that? Pi G plates or pig plates?
It says it's pig plates. I like pig plates. I'm going to go with that.
Plates. Anyway, I thought that was pretty funny. So anyway, that was my something fun. Cool. I thought that was cool. Geology.
Alrighty.
All right. Shall we call it a show?
Yeah, sorry, I made it through the whole show without yawning till just now.
Well, hey, we this is episode 93. That's right.
Yeah, 7 away.
Sorry.
What?
Yeah,
would that
sorry.
be?
I all of a sudden had a. I'm not looking at that, so that's exciting.
Yeah. Let's see. What's 7 weeks from now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. November 6th. If we keep this up properly, November 6th will be episode 100. Am I doing that right?
I'm not looking at a calendar.
Yes, November 6th.
Okay. Well, you know what? We should do something special. And what do you mean if we keep it up? We haven't missed a show yet. I think don't jinx us. Don't jinx us. All right. Well, it's fun. Hey, and I guess I'll put a plug if you're enjoying this, go out and give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play or something like that, because that would be nice.
Yes. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good night, John.
Have a good night, Eric. See you later.
Bye.